Hello, my conscious co-creators. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Danae Fenty, and I am what I like to call your conscious lifestyler. I offer tools and resources, guidance, and support to live your most conscious lifestyle yet. And I offer true whole person well-being. So all of that in mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. So basically, I like to say it's self-care from cell to soul. I offer one-on-one services, I offer corporate workshops, I offer group programs, and other ways to connect with me through social media. So each month I share more about a topic that relates to living your life more consciously. And I like to share from a place that's personal. So what it is that I'm working on to live more consciously in my own life, or maybe something that I'm seeing as a theme and a pattern with my clients. Last month we talked more about the importance of the importance of care to your well-being and the difference between care and overcare. And that care is energizing to us and that overcare is actually de-energizing to us. And one of the key components to living more consciously is being aware of your energy expenditures, because energy is never destroyed or created, it's only transformed. So it's really important to live more consciously to understand how to tune in to that and manage that in a more loving and wise way. And this really leads into this month's topic, which is the topic of change. So I wanted to talk about that this month because we are in September, and so at the end of September is the fall equinox. We're moving into the fall season. And also because for those of you who follow that live in Texas like I do, you know, many of our neighbors have experienced devastating change in the past couple of weeks. And, you know, there are changes that we invite into our life and ask for, and there are changes that are completely all of a sudden and unforeseeable. And we really, you know, our self-regulation, the way we are able to move through things makes a huge difference on our well-being and our happiness. And so I want to talk a little bit more about both of those types of change and how we can create a different relationship with change so that when those things do happen in our life, we can move through them and with them rather than resisting them or being beat down by them. And there's a couple of things that I learned about how our brain works that helped me create a new relationship to change. And so I want to share these with you in case they're helpful for you too. So the first was that I learned that our brain doesn't know the difference between real or imagined, which means that, you know, what I'm thinking is true in my life most of the time is filtered through through perceptions, which can be old programming or current programming. And I believe in learning more about this really helps us to understand why contemplation and self-reflection is so important, because when we don't take the time to do that, we can be living through this belief that, you know, is 40 years old. So that was super helpful to understand. And then I also found it really helpful to understand more about how the different parts of the brain work. So for instance, you know, there's part of our brain that's more responsible for moving forward and personal evolution and conscious awareness. And then we also have a part of our brain that is referred to as a reptilian brain that that contributes to our fight or flight response. And it has not evolved as quickly as the other parts of our brain. And so that reptilian part of our brain was designed to keep us, I would say, like in a comfort zone and often perceive change as threat. And with the fact that we live in such a fast-paced world right now, we're experiencing change, you know, at rapid and the bombardment of information that, you know, that's a contributing reason to why so many people have adrenal fatigue, because they're caught in this place of being excited by everything and always, you know, expecting something to happen. And so those two things I thought were really helpful to understand, because if I'm living in that space of adrenal overload, when change is coming my way, I am going to resist it, I'm going to run from it, I'm going to fight it, or I'm going to freeze in the face of it. And, you know, I've recently heard a quote that it's not the survival of the fittest, but it's the survival of the most cooperative. And that makes so much sense to me because, you know, coming back to the topic of energy, really everything is moving around us. We only perceive it to be static because that's what we're believing. You know, the more and more that we step into our consciousness and activate more of our mind, you know, there's the potential where we could start to see the auras around us and how everything is connecting at once. But for now, you know, this is the experience that we have. So how can we change our relationship to change so that we don't, you know, move into victimhood or self-martyrdom? I will give you a personal example in my life. So this past year has been required massive amounts of self-reflection and growth, and I've done so much to change my trajectory in the past several years. But what I am realizing still is that, you know, my beliefs about myself and other things in my life did not upgrade with the rest of my lifestyle. And so that's where my cleansing and my work has been, is in healing my mind and upgrading those beliefs that I have. And so there's one particular change that's happened this past year that really was devastating. And for a really long time, I realized that I was resisting this change. I would avoid the topic of conversation with people. When people would ask me about it, I would give very vague answers and not share much. And then, you know, things would happen that would remind me of this change. And I would get so upset, just really brokenhearted. And it was a devastating change in many ways. And so I realized recently that if the only thing that I can change is my perception to something, that if I didn't move into a place of acceptance of this change, that I very soon was going to be in a place of victimhood and of martyrdom. And the truth is that didn't serve me and that didn't serve the situation at all. And, you know, I want to be very real with you all always, and I'm not here to say that change is necessarily always easy. You know, the truth is that sometimes it's painful because where our trajectory is taking us is a different vibration, and so what we're feeling is the dissonance between where we are now and where we're needing to catch up to energetically. And so in all honesty, you know, I invite you to, when you're having these big changes in your life, to take baby steps and to invite the acceptance in slowly. You know, I remind myself when I find myself, you know, going into the stories of why I'm afraid of this change or why this change isn't good, is I just get really grounded and ask, you know, what is true right now today? Like, what can I accept right now? Maybe it's just that you know, I'm wearing a pink shirt. And I start with that. But that helps me to get present, because a lot of times when we're having struggle with change, it's that we go into the old stories. The old stories are not in alignment with what's true now. And so a lot of self-care, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of easing into the change and allowing for small adjustments to happen has really been how I've been able to, you know, not resist change. You know, when I think of resistance, I always think of, you know, the water and the beach. And the truth is the sand is a result of the rock's resistance to the flow of the water. And I've spent a lot of my life resisting, and I have felt internally and seen in my physical body and in the relationships around me what type of chaos that can create in our life. And you know, I used to believe that acceptance meant giving up. And when I realized that that was my perception and I let go of that perception, I've been able to invite change in much bigger and braver ways. And I believe in allowing yourself to make adjustments. I believe that equates to trust, and that's really what's required to move into a place of a new relationship with change. And many of you may know Tony Robbins. He's a world famous life coach, and he says that our happiness is a direct correlation to the degree of uncertainty that we can live with. So meaning change is going to happen all of the time, and how happy you are is going to depend on like how okay you can be with that uncertainty. Our ego mind, that part, our small self, wants to attach to things and wants to believe that it's going to be this way forever. But the truth is that your entire body replaces itself within a year. Your skin cells are replacing themselves every 28 days. Your gut cells replace it every few days. It's amazing. And so what keeps us in these patterns of illness? And a lot of times it can be those unchanging beliefs that we don't take time to look at and evaluate. Is this really serving me right now? And this can go on the opposite spectrum too. The change in your life can be really positive. Maybe you just got this huge promotion, or maybe you like prayed and have worked towards creating this awesome romantic relationship in your life, and now it's here, and now you're questioning it and doubting it and wondering if it's even for you. I invite you to remember what I mentioned about how the brain works. That reptilian part of our brain believes that change is a threat. And so you might go into all of these belief patterns of justifying why you should stay where you are. And that's why, consciousness is helpful on both degrees. On the one degree, it helps us to accept those unforeseeable changes that can seem devastating and can be truly devastating. And then on the other hand, it helps for the other end of the spectrum of really actualizing your dreams and stepping it up and being who you were meant to be. And then back into our physical body, when we can move through the changes of the seasons with more cooperation, we also don't experience resistance in our body. So if you start to equate, runny noses and allergies and inflammation and headaches as resistance in your body, then you can start to understand, what do I need to balance to come back into harmony with my body's natural ability to want to harmonize. And I believe that eating seasonally, cleansing seasonally, and really being in tune with your environment around you will help to alleviate many of those signs of resistance from your body, which is why I like to host seasonal cleanses. And you can join ours, which will start the third week of September. I have more information on my website, which is DanaeFenty.com. It's a super awesome Ayurvedic seasonal cleanse that helps you to start to tune into the elements that are present in the season and how you can balance your body to what's going on around you, because what's going on around you is also going on within you. I thank you guys so much for listening today, and I invite you to look at your own life and look at what change are you resisting changes, what needs to be adjusted in your life to allow more of these changes in your life. And if you want to share with me, you can always email me, info@DanaeFenty.com. And then stay tuned, because at the end of the month, I'll share more of my favorite ways of how I embrace change. Have a wonderful rest of your Labor Day, and I look forward to connecting again soon. Bye.